Okay, so I want to show you some ideas for using the Soundtoys bundle dynamically. So let me demonstrate. So we've got the drum loop of the disco track here. So let me just reset this to the default patch. We can start again. So this is our phaser. Now if we put this to ADSR mode here, then actually we have this threshold that appears. Now this allows us to dynamically affect the signal when the modulation's up. So without the modulation, we've just got kind of plain phasing, which sounds great, but we can actually modulate this using the modulation here whenever we cross the threshold. So when we cross the threshold, we're going to modulate our phaser, and we're going to do it using this envelope here. Now by playing with the envelope settings, we can create some really interesting rhythmic, dynamic movements. And by changing the threshold, we're going to be affecting different parts of the audio signal. So it's now only affecting those parts that cross the threshold. And now it's affecting much more of the signal. Now the resonance is making that quite kind of squeaky sound. If we turn that down and also limit the modulation, we can have it more subtle. Let's bring in the kick. So we can definitely add rhythmic interest that way. Now, of course, we can also do this with Filter Freak as well. So let's grab Filter Freak 1, and we'll keep the phase mistress on. So let's bring down the frequency. We'll leave the mix up actually. And let's try the envelope rather than the ADSR. So now whenever the signal crosses a threshold, we're modulating the cutoff using this attack and release. Let's try it as a band pass. Let's try the band reject filter. Let's try a different pole. Let's try without the phase mistress so we can really hear it. Let's try some of the other filter types again. So again, using this plugin dynamically, we can add rhythmic interest by allowing the threshold to dictate when we're applying modulation to the filter cutoff in this case, and the phaser in the case of Phase Mistress. Okay, let's have a look at an example on the bass. So I'm going to use Crystallizer now. So we'll bring that in. Now I've got a threshold control here on Crystallizer, and that actually relates to the gate duct control and the attack and release controls. Let's solo the bass. So if we have the bass occasionally crossing the threshold and we bring up the duct control, now we're going to be ducking the sound using the attack and release times to determine how that ducking is implemented. So if I just take that off, it's definitely not as rhythmic and as groovy without the ducking as it is when we bring it in. And likewise the gate control, now it's the opposite. It's actually going to be gating the effect with the sound itself. So when it crosses the threshold, we're going to have the affected sound added, and we're going to do that using the attack and the release times. Again without it. It's pretty cool. So by playing with the attack and release controls, the threshold and the gate and the duct, we can add the effect to the bass, but we could add it so it's not actually getting in the way of some of the other elements or taking over too much. Or we can add rhythmic interest and kind of groove to the part as well. So you can see that by using the thresholds and the dynamic controls on the Soundtoys bundle, you can really add dynamic movement to your effects. Okay, so now we've had a look at dynamic movement of our effects in the Soundtoys bundle. In the next video, we're going to check out the effects rack, and we're going to start looking at some more experimental effects chains. Thanks for watching.